my Doctor Who DVD collection.
Is Captain Jack Harkness the face of both?
Hello and welcome to WhoTube Gallifrey 02, and in this video I'm going to be reviewing the whole of Series 10 by ranking every single episode worst to best, as well as discussing the best and worst of the series, as well as going over the characters in this series. So yes, I'll start by ranking all the episodes worst to best. All 12 episodes, including the return of Dr. Mysterio, so that makes it 13, as I do count that as an episode of the series. This is based on episodes, not by stories, as I did think, for example, the Monk three-parter, every single episode had a very different vibe to each other, therefore I gave every episode a different score. So yes, starting the list at number 13. Now remember, this is my opinion. I would love to know what you think of the series in the comments below, so yeah, please comment. So yes, at number 13 we do have Smile, which I would give a 6 out of 10. Now it's number 13 on this list, my worst of the series, and I'm giving it a 6 out of 10. Normally I would give the bottom of the series a 2 or a 3 out of 10. No, this is why this series is so strong. Smile, my worst episode of the series, gets a 6 out of 10, which is average. And yeah, well done Frank Cottrell boys for improving from your last story in the Forest of the Night. Did think this episode had quite a lot of flaws. The acting was a bit bad, the monsters were a bit bad, and yeah, the effects were a bit bad, and the ending was a bit rushed. That's why it's at the bottom of this list. So yes, at number 12 we do have Oxygen, which I would give a 6.5 out of 10. Now Oxygen, I would say, is my most overrated episode of the series. Just like last series, I did think Heaven Sent was a bit overrated, as well as Deep Breath in the series before that. Not that I don't like those two stories, I just find them a bit overrated and not as good as everyone says it is, in my opinion. So yes, Oxygen comes in at number 12. The reason for it being at number 12 is I did find this story a bit boring in some points, and yeah, nothing really happened at a lot of points in this episode. So yes, that's why it comes in at number 12. Now at number 11 we do have Knock Knock, which I would give again a 6.5 out of 10. So yeah, it was Mike Bartlett's debut on Doctor Who, but I have to say, like Frank Cottrell boys, don't write episodes of Doctor Who, write stage episodes like King Charles III or the Olympic opening. Don't do TV, as you're down the list. Just stick to stage, please. So yes, good episode, Knock Knock. Yeah, it was alright. The acting in this episode was pretty poor. David Suchet's acting though, that was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. But I did think David Suchet could have gone in an episode with better acting. I think he would have worked well in Empress of Mars or something like that, with a better acting cast. And yeah, that's a bit unfair on the other actors, but you know, he would feel more realistic, as he felt very realistic, but the other characters didn't feel very realistic, which kind of made his character feel unrealistic as well. So yeah, they basically spread it on to him. So yes, at number 10 we do have The Pyramid at the End of the World, which I would rate a 7 out of 10. Now The Pyramid, like I like to call it, as the title is too long, I personally think this episode is quite a good episode of the Monk three-parter. It's my worst of the Monk three-parter, but I would have to say it is probably the most important story, as it really does carry on from Extremis well and lead in to the Lie of the Land well. This is very equivalent to the Sound of Drums, as Earth is put in a political situation, then Extremis and Utopia are the build-up story, and then the Lie of the Land and the Sound of Drums are the future dictatorship Earth stories, where at the end everything forgets about them. So yeah, those two three-parters were very similar, hence why I brought down the scores a bit more. If it was individual, I would probably give the Pyramid at the End of the World an 8 out of 10, but as it's kind of a rip-off of that series three-parter, I would have to give it a 7 out of 10. So yes, at number 9 we do have Extremis, which I would give a 7.5 out of 10. Now, Extremis was my most anticipated episode of the series, and I have to say, when I watched this episode again, it has got a bit worse than when I first watched it. And yeah, Extremis, good idea, but I did think this storyline could have carried on into the next 2 episodes, as I did think the virtual reality thing was pretty pointless. It was a pretty pointless story, to be honest, and yeah, I didn't think it was needed that much. So yes, at number 8 we do have the Eaters of Light, which I would give an 8.5, no sorry, a 7.5 out of 10. First episode written by a classic writer, and yeah, very good episode this episode, very good historic episode, one of the first to actually feature Romans, as there hadn't been many Roman episodes before that. There had been the Pandorica Opens and the Romans. I don't think there was any more than that. Please let me know if you know of any more in the comments below. And I did think this episode was very good indeed, and yeah, quite a good cast in this story. The acting felt very believable in this story, apart from the haircuts. They seemed a bit modern of some of the Roman soldiers, and yeah, a lot of Roman soldiers had beards and none of them really had beards, so yeah, an historical error there. So yes, at number 7 we do have the return of Dr. Mysterio, which I would give an 8 out of 10. Now, the return of Dr. Mysterio I personally think is a good episode, not a good Christmas special, as the pilot had more Christmas elements in. Why couldn't the pilot be the Christmas special? I don't know, because I think this episode was written before Bill was decided to be the companion, so yes, they decided to put this as the Christmas special. So yes, that's why the first scene was a bit long, because they had to put in a small Christmas element. So yeah, that's why I think that is. So yes, for the return of Dr. Mysterio, very good episode. Feels a lot like a superhero movie, which I really like about this episode. And yeah, not a good Christmas special, but personally a very good episode. So at number 6, we do have Thin Ice, which I would give an 8 out of 10. So yeah, I'm liking the historicals of this series. I think they're a lot better than the modern or the futuristic episodes. And yeah, Thin Ice, really good episode, really good scenery in this story. I did think the monster was a bit underused in this story, I would have to say. Lord Sutcliffe, he wasn't in it as much as I anticipated. He was only in a few scenes, which I found very disappointing. But you know, Thin Ice, a really good episode in my opinion. So yes, at number 5, we do have The Lie of the Land. Possibly the most underrated of the series in my opinion. Just like last series, I really liked The Woman Who Lived, and the series before I really liked The Robot of Sherwood. So yeah, this is basically the opposite of Oxygen. So yeah, The Lie of the Land I'll give an 8.5 out of 10, as I did really like this episode. It was really, really good in my opinion. Loved the mission and stuff like that. Loved how Earth had changed over those 6 months, and I really like Earth invasion stories, just like The Power of Three, which again, a lot of people don't like, but I like. So yeah. At number 4, we do have the finale, The Doctor Falls, with an 8.5 out of 10. What a good episode this was. I thought it was absolutely awesome, The Doctor Falls. Really good finale, best Moffat finale, and possibly the best finale since Last of the Time Lords, as this episode was really good. Just one thing, Johnson's character was very underused in this story. I expected him to be in it a lot more. Why didn't we see his regeneration into Missy? I don't know. Stephen Moffat's fault. Blame Stephen Moffat if there's any errors in this story. And yeah, Bill's ending, that was a bit disappointing as well, as Stephen Moffat yet again failed off to kill a character. Nardol's departure though, that was brilliant, I think. So yes, at number 3, we do have the series opener, the pilot, which I would give a 9 out of 10. Now this is my favourite series opener since The Impossible Astronaut and The Day of the Moon, as I did think this episode was really good series opener. Got you into the series really well, what a series opener should be, rather than The Magician's Apprentice, where you had to know what was going on to understand it. This episode got you in and attracted a new audience. However, the new audience in the series did not work. Some episodes only got 4 million, which is the worst of the modern era. Overnight viewing figures, we got the worst ever on 2 episodes, which is really bad. And yeah, why couldn't they make a darker Doctor and put it on later in the autumn, as that seemed to work in Series 8. Go back to that format. But get a younger Doctor, so yeah, you attract more fangirls. Not saying all fangirls like young Doctors, but it attracts more, and that's what Doctor Who needs, a bigger and better fan base. So yes, at number 2 we have Empress of Mars, or the Empress of Mars, which it originally be called, the same as the pilot, that used to be called The Star in Her Eye. But yeah, the Empress of Mars, what a brilliant episode. Best Mark Gatiss episode ever, I would have to say, as the Empress of Mars was a really good Ice Warrior story, a lot better than Cold War, I have to say, and a lot better than Sleep No More. And yeah, this episode was originally going to be Peladon leaving the Galactic Federation, which was based on Brexit, but then again, the BBC stopped Mark Gatiss from doing this, as they thought he would get complaints. So yes, they changed it to this, and yeah, thanks for changing it to this, as I did think this episode was absolutely brilliant. So yes, you've been ticking them off, and at number 1, we do have World Enough and Time, the penultimate episode of the series, which I will give a 9.5 out of 10, as this episode was so scary, so suspenseful, and yeah, had some really good moments in this episode. Really tense this story was, hence why it's at the top of the series and my favourite of the series. Better than the Doctor Falls, as I did think this episode set up the Doctor Falls well, but then the Doctor Falls fell a bit on its face. Not as much though as Hellbend, that fell on its face so much compared to Heaven Sent. So yes, now I'm going to discuss the best and the worst of the series. So yes, what is my favourite scene of this series? Well, I would have to say my favourite scene of this series was probably the cliffhanger for World Enough and Time, as that was such a brilliant cliffhanger, really good cliffhanger that was. We had the Master being revealed, and we had Bill turning into a Cyberman. So yeah, really good cliffhanger that was, and yeah, so shocking as well, really. So yes, worst scene of the series, well, I would have to say that's a hard one, but I would have to say the worst scene of the series was when Missy dabbed. She randomly dabbed. That dab was so random, and that's why World Enough and Time doesn't get a 10. Without that dab, it would be a 10, but that dab just brings it down, as it is so forced. That dab is extremely forced. Best musical score for Dr. Falls. What a beautiful musical score that had, especially near the end. That was a brilliant musical score right at the end. Another great musical score of this episode would be when the Cybermen were going up to the roof. That was a really good musical score. And yeah, really good musical score in this story. Best effects, World Enough and Time. The shot of that black hole looked awesome. Really good that was. And yeah, it had generally good effects in this story. Really good effects. Worst effects. Well, I would have to say the Eaters of Light probably had the worst effects. Now, there's a few reasons for this, as I did think the CGI was a bit flimsy. The monster looked good, but the CGI of that portal, that looked really bad. Don't know if it's intentional or not, but I did think it looked pretty bad. And yeah, the Empress of Mars as well, that had okay effects, but those effects I think were meant to be like that, as it was meant to feel a lot more like a classic Doctor Who story. Best monster, the Mondasian Cybermen. Yeah, they're a resurrected monster, but I did think these monsters were very good indeed. Worst monster, the emoji bots, as I did think these emoji bots were pretty forced as well. I didn't think they needed emojis on, and yeah, I did think they weren't very villainous, really. Best guest star, David Suquet, who played the landlord in Knock Knock. Really good performance by him. Worst guest star, well, I'd have to say the other people in Knock Knock, as they were really bad, and very bad stereotypes as well. They were really bad stereotypes, which I didn't like. They were really poor acting. Sorry if you're watching this, but improve. So yes, that's my best and worst of the series so far. Well, not so far anymore, it's over. So yeah, that's very disappointing. Most shocking scene of the series, well, I'd have to say at the beginning World Enough in Time when the Doctor was regenerating. I did not see that coming. Biggest disappointment, well, I would have to say it was the Daleks and the Mavellans in the pilot, or Johnson's scenes in The Doctor Falls, as he was really underused. So yes, what do I think of the characters in this series? So yeah, the Doctor, good, really good. Better compared to Series 9, as he felt a lot more consistent in this series, I think. Nardole, I did think he was going to be really bad, but in fact he was really good. He had some funny moments, he also had some serious moments. A really good performance from Matt Lucas for playing Nardole. Did really underestimate Nardole, and I'd like to apologise for Matt Lucas for quite a bit of hate before Series 10, as I did really underestimate him. So yes, sorry Matt Lucas for making a video about you where I basically destroy my love for Doctor Who because you're going to be in it. So yeah, sorry Matt Lucas. Now Bill had a really good performance in this series as a whole. Did really underestimate her as well. I did think she was just going to be another modern companion, but in fact she was very different compared to all the other companions. Just one problem, she wasn't very good at emotional scenes. So yeah, I don't think they should have put many emotional scenes in this series. Overarch of this series. Well, I did think the overarching plot of this series with the vault was very good. Did think they could have dragged it out for a bit longer before they revealed who was in the vault. Bit of anticlimax of who was in the vault, but other than that, I did think the vault scenario was very good in this series. And yeah, Bill, she can go back to present day Earth, and yeah, her atoms will get revenged. But don't do that, as you'll probably get charged with murder for the disappearance of Nardole and the Doctor, as I doubt the Doctor's going to go back, as he doesn't really go back anyway. He's going to regenerate, so even if he does go back, they'll think he's a different person. And Nardole, he's not going back either. So yeah, Bill, don't go back to the university. If not, you'll be put in jail for double murder and probably never get out. So yeah, don't go back. Travel the universe forever. And yeah, endings of Bill and Nardole, they were very good. Prefer Nardole's, as Bill's they just messed about with again. And yeah, don't kill a character, but then bring them back to life. I'd rather a character just go off like Nardole. I hate death. Not many people like death, unless you're a murderer. So yes, I did think, okay, you can either kill a character, or just let them leave. Don't kill a character, then bring them back to life. It doesn't happen in everyday life, and it's putting a bad impression on kids who don't understand what death really is. So yes, they'll just think, oh yeah, the dog died. Mum, when's he coming back to life? Because Stephen Moffat's drawn that image to them that all characters come back to life. Countless characters have come back to life. So yes, I do think this series was very good at whole. The average of the series is a 7.8 out of 10, which is brilliant. And yeah, best writer obviously Stephen Moffat, as he wrote World Enough in Time, my favourite story. Most improved, the Empress Mark Gatiss, who wrote The Empress of Mars. Brilliant improvement from Sleep No More. Got 7 more marks for this story than Sleep No More, which I gave a 2. So yeah, well done Mark Gatiss. And yeah, that is the end of my review of Series 10. And yes, stay tuned for my next video, which is tomorrow. Happy Independence Day video, which I shouldn't really be celebrating as it's independence from UK to US, but you know, I love the USA, so yeah, I'm doing that where I'm going to go through every story which has been set in the USA and give my thoughts on each and every episode. So yes, until the next time, and yeah, one last intro will be played of my current intro, then tomorrow you'll see my new intro. So yes, until the next time, goodbye. My Doctor Who DVD collection.
Is Captain Jack Harkness the face of Bow?